Okay, I found this cool park. It's across the street from the and I just wanted to explain something. So, sorry, let me put these AirPods up so they don't die. So I just saw that in Florida, it looks like they've banned the medical abortion pill now. It's just every day there's like, it's back and forth, whatever. But I wanted to explain something that I thought about, and I thought about this before, but I just never made content about it. So I am now because it seems like a really good time to talk about it. Tupac made a song a while ago. It was called Brenda. Brenda's got a baby. And if you watch the video, what happens is like Brenda is pregnant and she bursts, so she gets pregnant by some guy. I think she's very young. I think she's like a high school senior or a high school junior or something. Now, she doesn't feel comfortable to tell, like, obviously, like I've told you guys many times, there's no black community. So, and women are the most vulnerable and they're exploited in so many ways. So, there's this black female high schooler. She is pregnant with a child, and what she does is she takes the baby and she dumps the baby in a dumpster, and then she just runs away. So, um, when I first heard that story, it was very sad. I had all these questions. I was like, so here's the first thing. If you have if you if you're in a relationship, a situationship with some guy and you happen to get pregnant, there's so many options that you have. The morning after pill, which is not it's not an abortion, it's just like the morning after you have the sex, the pill will like stop the conception. Then you have like medical abortions, which you can do up to I think 10 weeks, or maybe it's 21 weeks now. I don't know. And then after that, if you still want to abort, you can do like a regular surgical abortion. So those are kind of like the options. But you also have obviously all of the you also have all of the options for regular contraception, so like IUDs and condoms, obviously. There's so many options. You should definitely use those. Like women need uh, just sexual health, really, obviously. And so let's talk about Brenda. So some things that Brenda didn't know that were like shocking to me. First of all, if you actually go through with the pregnancy. So the other thing that's super weird, like how is it that they're like Brenda lived somewhere? She was sleeping somewhere. Like people knew that she was pregnant. So how is it that she was able to go for 9 months growing a baby and then nobody knew that she was pregnant? So she didn't have any prenatal care. That's crazy, first of all. And then also, why didn't she know like all of her options if she didn't want to keep the baby? You can give the baby up for adoption. You can take if you don't want a baby at any point, take the baby to the fire department and just drop the baby off at the door. That is a very common thing that you and anyone can do. There's no judgment. That's where you take the baby, or take the baby to a church. Like all of those are things that you can do with a baby that you don't want. But obviously don't dump a live baby into a trash can. But that's what she did in this story, and I don't think that this is like a made up story. I feel like there are probably many black girls who have done this because they just don't have the information. They just don't know, and they're so chastised in the black community, and there's just so few resources and so many retards and so many niggers. Like there's just it's like if you're a black woman, I don't know where do you start. There's no resource. There's no one to turn to. But here's the thing that I finally understand. I understand why Brenda didn't want the baby. There's no woman alive who like really like hates babies. It's not really about that at all. It's more like, and I keep going back to the story because I feel like some people don't understand it. During slavery, women, and this isn't like one woman, like many women did this. They threw their infants off over the ship. So they hid their pregnancy. They had like all these secret languages that they used while they were pregnant. And when the baby was so the whole point of black women during slavery was to make more slaves. So the American economy needed slaves to pick cotton, and they needed them to be black because it was racialized slavery. So the more nigger children that are born, the more slaves that they had to produce more and more cotton. this is the big idea behind the school to prison pipeline and like the new Jim Crow and all these things. Like, when there are so many people who are not law abiding, then they get to go to prison. But prison is an industrial complex. And what I mean by that is that, like, while some people are in prison and it just sucks and we have all these songs locked up, and everybody's locked up, there are a lot of people who are locked up. That's true. The other thing about that is true, though, is that, like, there are other communities who get to work in the prisons, the prison guards, the all the people who work the jails. Those people feed their entire families just off of, like, the criminality. Like, criminality is a cycle that pays. So you need criminals to continue being criminals, and then you also need people who are going to, like, supervise the criminals. They get paid too. It's a system, an economy. And the whole point of it being racialized is, like, if black people don't figure out how to not be criminals, then everyone gets to eat. But as soon as you start to, like, decriminalize certain things, there's all this other stuff that happens. So what are you going to do with these people who are not in jail? They have to have jobs. They have to have homes. They probably want, like, wives and families and houses and cars and food and dinners and lunches and all the things that, like, we have. They want these things because they're not in jail anymore. They're, like, free to go out into society and roam. Now, this is where we have a big problem. What the hell happens to people like Brenda? Brenda, in this case, is, you know how Beyonce had that song, and in the song she's all like, black women are the most underappreciated and underprotected person in the country. Now, this is true. This has been true for a very long time. Because amongst men can really do whatever they want. Like, we already know there are going to be some men who don't make it. There are going to be some men who just die off. Other men kill them. Like, all these things happen where some men grow, some men die. Nobody really cares. They're men. Women, on the other hand, have vaginas. And if Cardi B did not make it very clear, vaginas are worth a lot of money. They just are. And so it doesn't really matter what the vagina comes with. Like, well, I mean, it does, but, like, also, like, all pussies are valuable. Okay. And so that's why you have to, there's all these things people keep talking about, like mental health. Mental health amongst women is mostly them being preyed on by men. There's some men somewhere who's, like, literally agitating some woman to make it so that she is unable to take care of herself. Because the way that the country is set up, technically, God should be able to take, with all of the churchgoers here and the, like, money to the needy and everything, if there were just women's shelters, like, women would survive, right? Because, like, women could just live off of the YMCA, the church, and just having some job at the supermarket. They could live 100 years just doing that. There's no need for, like, men, really. I mean, because, like, the church provides food, the shelters provide 3 meals a day and a bed, and then the YMCA provides, like, a shower. So, and then there's, like, free clinics if you have, like, a health issue. So let's just, like, if you just did nothing else and you were in America, that could be your whole life. You could just go out to the park every day and then just go live at a shelter in some state, because there's shelters in all states. Now, the problem comes in when the women have children. Because I'm just trying, like, God can take care of that, but now if you start introducing children into that mix, now you got a problem. Like, children can't live in shelters. And that's where the black community has an issue. The black community has been relying on this public assistance story for a very long time. Everybody can live out of the shelter. Oh, public this, public that, because there are no men, there are no fathers. And so Brenda was frightened. Brenda didn't want her baby to grow up like that. Brenda didn't want to be a part of the story. Brenda tried to save herself. And I think we should all learn a very valuable lesson from Brenda. Brenda was smart. Brenda saved herself. And I think when I first heard that narrative, Tupac told it in a way where Brenda was the villain and not the victim. And now I feel like I just see it differently. Brenda is the victim. I mean, yes, that baby had an awful life starting in a dumpster, but let's be serious. There's children, black children out right now who have way worse lives than that. If only Brenda had an abortion, Brenda would be way better off, and we wouldn't have to have babies in trash cans. Like, that's where we are in this country. Babies in trash cans. Get the fuck out of here. So first we started at babies thrown over ships, and then we had the black babies getting eaten by the alligators. And now we have babies in trash cans. This is the American horror story. And I'm telling you, like, it has to stop somewhere. Like, somebody's got to put an end to it. Black women have to save themselves. Seriously. You have to save yourself. There's no one else coming. No one's coming. Like, put on your fucking grown-up panties and get the fuck out there and make something of yourself. If you have one penny, then that's what you have. That's what you have. Go forth and live.